Okay, so let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a really complex and pretty concerning situation reported out of Georgia.
hmm It involves Thai women who, travel there thinking they'd be doing surrogacy work.
Right. But the report we're looking at suggests things allegedly took a very different turn. There are claims of pressure into something else entirely.
Yeah, and our source for this deep dive, it's crucial here, is a detailed report from BBC News Thai. They actually spoke to people on the ground.
Ah, okay. So who did they talk to?
Well, they've got interviews with the women making these allegations, a representative from the company involved, and officials in both Thailand and Georgia. So quite a few angles.
Got it. So our mission today is really specific then. We want to understand these different accounts, the allegations themselves, and where the official investigations stand, but only based on what's in this BBC report.
Exactly. We're not playing judge here. We're laying out the picture presented in the source, which is, well, often conflicting.
And the way this whole thing surfaces, it's quite dramatic, isn't it? It starts with a rescue operation.
That's right. Initiated by a Thai foundation, Pavena Hongsakul Foundation for Children and Women. They helped bring 3 women back home from Georgia.
And this seems like a really critical point right from the start. The report suggests there could be many, many more women still there.
Yeah, that's the unsettling part. The rescue is sort of the tip of the iceberg, potentially.
Okay, so let's start with that initial report from the foundation. They flagged this back on February 3rd, 2025.
Correct. And their core claim was this. Thai women went to Georgia voluntarily, expecting surrogacy work. But they alleged they were tricked or pressured into selling their eggs instead by a group described as Chinese businessmen.
And the foundation got involved even earlier, right? Like back in September 2024.
Yes, the first woman, who the report calls Na, it's a pseudonym, she managed to pay her own way out somehow and contacted the foundation once she was back in Thailand. That was September 17th.
So her account kind of kicked things off, and from there, the foundation tried to help others still in Georgia.
Exactly. Building on what Nod told them, they reached out to Interpol Thailand.
Yeah.
And Interpol Thailand then liaised with the Georgian police, requesting assistance.
Which led to the actual rescue described in the report.
Georgian police reportedly went in and brought out 3 other women on October 4th, 2024.
Wow. And they eventually got back to Thailand, but not until January 30th, 2025. That's quite a delay.
It is. There was likely processing involved, victim support, that kind of thing.
And the number you mentioned earlier, the report estimates potentially hundreds more women, mostly Thai, still with this company.
That's the figure stated in the source, yes. Hundreds. It's a shocking number, if accurate.
It really is. It tells you the potential scale we might be talking about here. So who is this company? BabyCome.
Yeah, BabyCome.
Yeah.
Described in the report as being owned by Chinese nationals, registered there in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia.
And the BBC did some digging into the registration. It sounds a bit complicated.
It does. They found a few related registrations. One, BabyCome, listed as a hotel. Another, BabyCome Baby Care Center, registered, perhaps unsurprisingly, as a child care center. And a woman named Ep-01, also known as Cindy, is listed as an owner for that one. Then there's another company, also called BabyCome, registered as a medical consulting firm, but with a different Chinese chairman listed.
Okay. So multiple entities under a similar name. Did the BBC talk to anyone from the company itself?
They did. They interviewed a representative, a Chinese man named Joe. He claimed to be the owner.
The owner, despite the registrations.
Well, he told the BBC that Ep-01, or Cindy, is actually his wife, and he uses her name for the family business. That was his explanation.
I see. And what's his side of the story? What does he say BabyCome actually does?
He maintains its legitimate surrogacy work. He flatly denies any forced egg selling.
But he acknowledges the police incident, the one involving the 3 rescued women.
Yes, he acknowledged that happened at his company.
Yeah.
He didn't deny the police intervention itself.
Okay, so this is really where the conflicting narratives clash head-on. The women's accounts versus BabyCome's claim.
Exactly. Very different stories emerging.
Let's go back to Na's story then, the first woman who contacted the foundation. How did she say she got involved?
She said she was recruited by an agent in Thailand. The promise was legal surrogacy in Georgia, and she was offered 500,000 baht, payable after delivery.
Okay, standard sounding maybe. So she arrives in Tbilisi.
Right. First put up in a hotel, then moved to a house with other women. And it was there, she claims, living with others, that she started hearing things weren't right.
What kind of things?
Specifically, that some of the women were apparently being pressured to sell their eggs instead of actually carrying pregnancies. which was, not the deal they thought they had.
So based on that, Na decided pretty quickly this wasn't for her.
Yeah, after just 4 days, according to her account, she felt it wasn't what was agreed, and she wanted out.
But she couldn't just leave.
Apparently not. She claims she was told she had to pay compensation 50,000 baht initially.
Compensation for what? For deciding not to proceed.
That seems to be the implication in her story. And then she says when she managed to get the money together, the price suddenly jumped to 70,000 baht.
Why the increase?
The reason given, according to her, was because she'd stayed longer while arranging the payment.
That sounds coercive.
Her account also includes a really tense moment where she says someone tried to confiscate her phone, and she threatened to jump from a second-floor window to stop them.
Wow, so she felt trapped.
That's certainly the picture her story paints. Eventually, she managed to buy her own plane ticket and flew back to Thailand, where she reported it all to the Pavana Foundation in September 2024.
Okay, now what about Belle? She was one of the 3 who were rescued later. Her story adds more detail.
It does. She barely traveled with Na's group, but didn't know her personally. And initially, she wasn't aware of the egg-selling allegations.
So what was her experience?
She describes undergoing medical checks, getting medication, but crucially, she says she wasn't told what the meds were for, or even what her test results were.
No information.
Just told to take the medication and even film herself doing it. She assumed at first it was all standard prep for the surrogacy process.
But then she found out otherwise, like Na did.
Yes. Similar story. She says she learned from women who'd been there longer that the medication wasn't actually for preparing a pregnancy, but for stimulating egg production, for egg selling.
And when she realized this,
She says she confronted the Thai caretaker there and also the Chinese boss, demanding to go home.
and what was their response, according to her?
She claims she was told she had 2 options. Either pay 60,000 to 70,000 baht, similar to Na's situation, or sell her eggs 3 times. That would supposedly clear her debts.
Sell her eggs 3 times, so perform the very thing she was objecting to.
That's what she alleges. And despite refusing, she claims that the day before the police rescue, she was taken to the hospital again for a 3rd time and given 3 injections in her abdomen.
Even after refusing, that's a very serious allegation.
Extremely serious. It suggests active steps were being taken against her will right up until the police arrived.
So the money aspect seems central to these disputes. How does Joe, the BabyCome guy, explain the financial side?
His version is quite different. He claims the company gave the women $500 USP before they even flew to Georgia, plus another 20,000 baht when they arrived.
Okay.
He frames the situation with the 3 rescued women as them basically taking this money and then deciding they wanted to leave, but without giving a valid reason. And instead of talking to him, they just called the police. That's his perspective in the report.
But the women, through the Pavna Foundation, they dispute that account of the money.
They do. They claim they only actually received $300 of that initial $500.
Why only $300?
They say $200 was immediately requested back right after they arrived in Georgia. They did confirm receiving the 20,000 baht from the Thai agent after arrival, though.
And crucially, what do they say about wanting to leave? Did they just take the money and run, as Joe implies?
No, their claim, supported by the foundation, is that when they realized they were being pressured about egg selling and wanted to leave, they actually offered to return all the money they had received.
They offered it back.
Yes. But, they allege, the Chinese boss refused to take it back and instead demanded this extra compensation payment.
So it wasn't about the initial money given, but about extracting more money before letting them go.
That's the core of their claim. It shifts the narrative from women trying to cheat the company to women being potentially trapped by manufactured debt and compensation demands when they tried to back out of a situation they hadn't agreed to. The report presents both starkly different interpretations.
Okay, another really contentious point seems to be the passports. What are the different claims there?
Right. The BBC spoke to another BabyCome representative, a guy named Asher, who apparently handled documents. His position is firm. Passports were collected, not seized.
What's the distinction he's making?
He insists it was purely for necessary administrative stuff translation, legal documentation for the surrogacy process. He even emphasized to the BBC that seizing passports without consent is illegal in Georgia.
Did he offer any proof?
He apparently showed the BBC reporter folders of documents via video call, suggesting they had a proper process for handling paperwork. He said passports would be returned once everything was processed.
But Nels and Bell strongly disagree.
Completely. They both claim they never signed any contracts or documents the entire time they were there. and they maintained that having their passports taken absolutely prevented them from leaving. It wasn't just processing, it was control.
That's a direct contradiction. What about the other woman mentioned, the one still there? Fun.
Yeah, her perspective, as reported by the BBC, is interesting. She does confirm the passports were collected from the women,
Okay.
but her interpretation is different. She believes the boss collects them because he's afraid women will just take the advance money she mentions, getting 30,000 bell on arrival, and then just leave without doing the surrogacy.
So she sees it as a preventative measure by the company, not necessarily as trapping someone.
That seems to be her view. She claims she's been there 5 months, hasn't passed the physicals for surrogacy yet, but says she's treated well, wasn't forced to sell eggs, and that the company even bought her a plane ticket when she asked to go home recently. So her experience sounds quite different.
Her take seems to be that it's about stopping women from scamming the company after getting paid.
That appears to be her rationale for why the passports are held, yes. A measure against perceived flight risk after payment.
And what about the Pavena Foundation? Did they have updates on the passport situation more recently?
Yes, the report includes an update. The foundation recently helped another woman get home. This woman apparently escaped from one of the BabyCome houses after passports were returned following that police intervention back in October. She got back February 7th.
Ah, so the police action might have led to passports being given back to some.
It seems possible. The foundation is now helping 5 women in total. They also mentioned 3 others who managed to leave recently after getting their passports back. 2 bought their own tickets. 1 needed the foundation's help. So it does suggest that post-police involvement, some passports were returned, maybe allowing more women to leave.
These different perspectives on the passport's necessary processing versus seizure versus preventing financial loss, it really highlights the complexity, doesn't it? Trying to understand the actual power dynamics and what mechanisms of control might have been used based just on these accounts.
Absolutely. It's murky.
Yeah.
And at the heart of it all is that core allegation, egg selling.
Right. Let's focus on that. The rescued women backed by the foundation, what exactly are they saying about egg selling?
Their claim is clear and consistent, according to the report. All 4 women the foundation was caring for at the time stated they were either offered money or directly pressured to sell their eggs, especially if they didn't pass the physicals for surrogacy.
And some were already being prepped for it?
Yes, they claim some had already been given medication or injections that they believe were specifically for egg stimulation, not pregnancy prep.
Okay, how does Asher, the BabyCome representative, respond to that specific claim?
He gives a very different account. He does admit that a few women, he specifies maybe 5 or 6, did willingly donate eggs for payment.
Willingly?
Yes, but only, he claims, when they couldn't proceed with surrogacy for medical reasons. He frames it as a voluntary alternative for a very small number of women.
Just 5 or 6.
That's his number. He minimizes it. And then he makes this rather surprising claim.
What's that?
He told the BBC they rarely even use Thai women for egg donation because, and this is the direct quote referenced in the source, their physical appearance is not being preferred.
Not preferred. That's an odd thing to say.
It is. He also denies knowing what an egg farm, a term sometimes used for large-scale egg harvesting operations, even is, or why anyone would need so many eggs.
And did he offer any defense against the broader allegations, like trafficking?
His main defense seems to be pointing to the fact that the Georgian authorities investigated after the incident with the 3 women, but they haven't shut his company down. He presents this as proof that his operation is legitimate and not involved in anything illegal like trafficking or running an egg farm.
Okay. That brings us neatly to the official investigations then. What does the BBC report say about how the authorities both in Georgia and Thailand are handling this?
Let's start with Georgia. The Ministry of Internal Affairs there issued a statement. They confirmed launching an investigation prompted by that request from Interpol Bangkok.
And they're investigating it under what framework?
It's being handled by their Central Criminal Police Department, specifically under Article 143 of the Georgian Criminal Code. That article deals with human trafficking.
Okay, so they are treating it seriously, at least on paper. Did they say what steps they took?
Their statement mentioned checking and searching locations linked to BabyCome and also interviewing around 70 foreigners associated with the company.
70 people interviewed. And what came out of those interviews?
This is a key point in their statement. They said that out of those nearly 70 people, none of them reported any complaints or issues, except for the 3 Thai women who were then rescued.
Only the 3 who were rescued complained. Nobody else.
That's what the Georgian authorities stated, according to the BBC report.
So why did they help those three specifically?
The Georgian explanation was straightforward. Those three women explicitly told the police they did not want to be surrogates anymore and did not want to stay there. So the police facilitated their removal
Where did they take them?
to a shelter designated for victims of human trafficking. They were processed there legally before they eventually left Georgia.
Did the investigation involve anyone else?
Yes. The report mentions Georgian police also questioned 4 foreigners who were involved in bringing the women to Georgia in the first place. Their phones were seized as part of the investigation.
And the Thai authorities were satisfied with Georgia's response.
Interpol Thailand reportedly thanked the Georgian police for acting quickly and for continuing the investigation. The Georgian ministry confirmed the investigation is, indeed, ongoing.
But ongoing doesn't mean conclusive. Did the BBC get any more recent updates from Georgia?
They tried. The report notes that when the BBC requested more details from Georgian police around February 10th, the police declined to provide specifics,
Like what kind of specifics?
like whether the investigation was specifically looking into the forced egg selling allegations, or if they knew whether any more women had left BabyCome's houses since that initial police action back in October. They weren't commenting further at that time.
Okay, so the Georgian side is ongoing but a bit tight-lipped recently. What about the Thai authorities? What's their role and perspective here?
The BBC included comments from the Interpol Thailand commander, Police Major General Surafin Taiprasert. He basically confirmed their role was coordination, relaying the Foundation's request to Georgian police.
But they can't confirm the facts themselves.
No. He stated clearly that Thai police can only request cooperation. What actually happened in Georgia, the facts of the case, that really depends on the outcome of the Georgian investigation.
Makes sense. And what about Thai anti-trafficking units? Are they involved?
Yes. The director of the Thai Anti-Trafficking Center, Police General Thachai Patenalabut, gave a statement reported around February 7th after meeting the Foundation and the women who had returned.
What was his assessment?
He said the information they had was still, quote, unclear regarding the egg collection details specifically. Was it forced? What was the exact purpose? Key questions remain unanswered for them.
So what are the Thai police doing now?
He confirmed they are coordinating with Georgian police to get more information. They've also assigned their own human trafficking suppression division to try and expand the case from the Thai end.
But ultimately, they need more from Georgia?
That's the gist. Poljen Thachai emphasized they need more details from the Georgian investigation to determine definitively if this constitutes human trafficking under Thai law or maybe other offenses.
And importantly, what about the women themselves? Are they facing legal trouble in Thailand for potentially violating surrogacy laws or anything?
That's a crucial assurance they offered. Poljen Thachai stated that Thai police will not prosecute any of the women who want to return home.
That's significant. It might encourage others to come forward.
Exactly. They are actively encouraging the women to provide statements, framing them not as potential defendants, but as key witnesses whose testimony could be vital evidence against others who might have been involved in organizing or running this operation.
Okay, so stepping back from all these details, all these conflicting accounts laid out in the DBC report, where does that leave us?
Well, it leaves us with a really stark picture, doesn't it? You have these incredibly serious allegations from the women, supported by a well-known foundation, detailing potential deception, coercion, and exploitation.
Right, versus flat denials and completely different explanations from the company representatives.
Exactly. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of official investigations in 2 different countries that, based on this report, seem to be ongoing, but perhaps haven't yet reached definitive conclusions about exactly what laws were broken or by whom.
We've seen just how much the accounts differ on really fundamental points. Was it surrogacy or was it forced egg selling?
Were women free to go, or were they effectively held through financial pressure or passport confiscation?
Were there contracts or not? Was money given freely or used as leverage?
Yeah, the source presents radically different versions of reality on almost every key aspect.
And when you consider the whole context, people crossing borders for opportunities, different legal systems, maybe gaps in regulation, the sheer difficulty of international investigations, it really throws into sharp relief how incredibly complex and difficult these situations are to navigate, not just for the individuals potentially caught in the middle, but also for the authorities trying to figure it out and provide help.
It definitely highlights the vulnerabilities people can face when seeking work or, opportunities like surrogacy abroad, especially where oversight might be lacking.
So, thinking about everything this BBC report brings to light, It does raise some big questions for you, the listener, to consider.
Yeah, like what does this specific situation suggest about the wider world of international fertility services, especially the less regulated parts of it?
And how tough is it really for someone looking for an opportunity overseas to actually verify if an offer is legitimate, especially when it sounds potentially lucrative?
And maybe, what does this case show us about the challenges, the limits maybe, of international legal cooperation when
Right.
you've got such conflicting stories and investigations spanning multiple countries?
So the final thought to leave you with is this. Reflecting on this deep dive, what questions does this raise for you about what might be needed, systemically perhaps, to better protect vulnerable individuals who find themselves in these complex cross-border situations in the future?